Welcome back for another episode on the Tahoverlanding axle swap. I wanted to do a video about this Tahoe here. You can see it parked alongside mine. This is built by owner Eric Rankins. You may recognize the name from a previous video that I've done, but you may not recognize the vehicle. As you can see here, it's been painted camouflage. Previously, it was sort of a gray-silver color. This is the video that I last featured his Tahoe. I actually was contacted by him. He was coming to Moab all the way from Conroe, Texas, which is quite a drive, and asked me if I'd meet him down in Moab, which isn't quite the drive for me. So this is some pictures and videos that I took and some that he took while we were in Moab. I don't normally do much recording or picture taking when I'm off-roading, but a lot of the time since I was leading the trail, I was able to get out ahead of him and get out and record him as he was coming up. And that's where some of these pictures and videos came from right here. Here he is coming up and over and back down an obstacle here. As anyone knows that's done any kind of recording or picture taking off-road, it never shows or does quite the justice of the difficulty of the obstacle when you're filming it, unless you do sort of a forced perspective and try to tilt the camera and change the way that it looks to kind of show how difficult it is, which I didn't do here. He's caught up to me on the trail. We, stopped and took a couple of pictures. So I wasn't able to stay in Moab too long. I was only able to run down and just run, one trail with him. So we just spent a few hours together on one day. But he stayed in Moab for several days later and explored Moab. And here's some of the pictures he took after I'd left and headed back. I'm not sure where a lot of these were taken. But I do know that at the very least, this one right here was taken on top of the world, and he was very excited to get that picture. What really speaks to the versatility of the swap is that he traveled all the way from Texas to Moab, stayed in Moab for a week or so, and then drove all the way back, all the while exploring all the trails he wanted to see, and all the various difficulties. And as you can see here, he traveled, something like 3,300 miles. And what he's got here, he posted up that he traveled 3,300 miles round trip. That's there and back, all on his solid axle swap, all comfortable, reliable, and no complaints. And as you can see right here on his Instagram post, he couldn't be happier with this swap. That's after 3,300 miles. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, this is the video that I mentioned that I did a few months back, and it featured Eric Rankins and his build, plus 3 others that have been doing the build, or at least finished theirs back then. I recommend you go back and watch it, and you can sort of see how far his Tahoe has come. It did originally start out even as 2-wheel drive, so it's a really interesting build to kind of look at and see everything he's done and how far he went from being a 2-wheel drive Tahoe to exploring the trails in Moab. So a lot of the reason why I was only able to run one trail with him was because our schedules just didn't quite line up. When I got there, it was actually the day before, and he was still traveling in at that point. So I was going to go run Metal Masher, and the reason why I didn't end up running Metal Masher was because as I was on my way out there, I happened into this flipped over Kawasaki side-by-side. You can see it just in the back over my shoulder there. So we stopped to render aid, and as people were getting bandaged up and they were flipping it back over, they seemed to have their own friends there, and they just sort of shoot us away. So we ended up leaving and getting back on the trail. I'm the absolute worst about taking pictures, especially when people were getting bandaged up and it was sort of a stressful situation. It just didn't feel right to take pictures, so I only took this one far away. So we get back on the trail and start heading towards Metal Masher, and we happen across this silver Jeep. I think it's a Cherokee or Grand Cherokee or something. This was taken later, but at the time it was diagonally parked across the trail out to Metal Masher, and it was just parked blocking the trail diagonally. Hazards were on, just looked sort of haphazardly abandoned. And as we pulled up on it, someone else also pulled up on it that was in a rental Jeep. And they told me that further up the trail, they'd seen someone running. And so, instead of going out to Metal Masher, we went out to make sure that there wasn't someone in trouble. And so we decided to go past Metal Masher and out to Gemini Bridges just to see if we can find this person and figure out what's going on with them and their vehicle. It was actually blocking the trail to the point that we actually had to go off trail to even get around it, as did anyone else coming by. So we get out to Gemini Bridges. Here's me and Billy Black there, taking a picture at the edge of the bridges. There's a big cliff behind us. That's a pretty popular sort of foot trail also, and so we figured we might find that guy there. So these pictures were taken out close to where Metal Masher is on the trail out to Gemini Bridges. And we really considered taking Metal Masher even still, because that was what our goal was. But Metal Masher's a fairly long trail and would have taken quite a while. And the other Jeep I was telling you about, they wanted to call the cops on this thing and have it impounded. They were from out of state in a rental, and I said, no, this guy's probably just having some mechanical problem. Let's not have his car impounded. So I promised them that I would go look for him, and then if I didn't find him, I would make some calls. We didn't find anyone, and the people we bumped into didn't know anything about it. So rather than run Metal Masher, we went to Gemini Bridges and then turned around, took this picture here of it pulled up on a rock. My brother really thought it was funny to see the driver's door basically dragging in the dirt. It was up on the rock so far. Again, like I said, pictures just don't do justice to how steep things are. So after wheeling around out on those trails for 2 or 3 hours, we had come back to check on this. And as you can see, here's the owner of the vehicle giving the thumbs up. He did explain that he'd broken a CV axle, which for some reason made it completely immobilized right where it was. And he had caught a ride back into town to get a tow truck. And so he didn't need any real help, but he was already on his way back in town, probably as we were coming past him, happening onto his vehicle. So everything worked out fine. Sun hadn't quite set yet, but we were getting hungry, so we went back into town to get some wings. And on the recommendation of the guy that owns the t-shirt store down there in Moab, we went to the Blue Pig for wings, and that was probably the best recommendations I've had for food in a really long time. He was spot on. Best buffalo wings in Moab for sure.